we have resumed with the Friday Five. Our co-hosts left over from the first half hour include the Admiral Bill Stubblefield. You can
Good morning,
Rob.
Rob.
Yeah, that's your cue.
Good morning.
It is your cue. If you're waiting for a cue, that would be it. Yeah.
But you generally add something to it, and I was waiting for the add-on, but there was no add-on.
No, usually you don't wait for a cue.
And I went out.
When he's right, he's right.
And I went out of my way this morning to be nice to my kite. No more.
You were trying to poke, but
Yeah,
he was
he was not pokeable.
Then we got started on traffic circles and red lights, and that he was more than he could take.
And his daughter called in and said, "My dad's off the rails again."
Well,
I think that's what she said.
God bless her.
No, she did not say that.
She's
by the
awesome.
Way.
In the Badgers' defense, traffic circles are supposed to be in place of traffic lights, not in addition and alongside two traffic lights.
Thank you.
Right, Badge? That's why we put them in.
You're exactly right.
And Mike's also right. They work. Once you get used to them, they work so much more effectively and quicker than traffic lights.
Yeah, and when do you have backups in traffic circles? When you pair them with lights.
Yeah.
It makes no sense at all. Of course, Department of Highways in the state of West Virginia.
Let the record show that Mike Hyde and I are in agreement up to this point in time.
Up to this point.
Yeah.
We're
going to start diverging in just a couple of minutes.
We are simpatico at this time, but it is early in the Friday Five. So let's welcome back the Badger Delegate Michael Hite.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Great to have you, sir. Longest tenured member of our crew, former tax commissioner of the state of West Virginia, attorney at law Michael Carl.
Good morning, everybody.
We used to joke about the $300 an hour billing rate. Mike said he moved past that a long time ago.
A chump change.
That's minimum wage in his field now. Also, attorney at law Larry Schultz.
Great to be here.
Via telephone, he is a farrier. Ken Matson. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, everybody.
Former member of the military as well. Ken, if I remember, right after 9/11, you got stationed at the Pentagon for a little while, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. How long were you down there?
Approximately 4-ish months, and then we got sent down to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
4 months at the Pentagon and then down to Fort Stewart, Georgia. What was going on in Georgia at the time?
Well, a general wanted some Red Berets up at the Pentagon, so they brought the airborne MP unit from Fort Stewart, Georgia, and sent us down to take their place. Government efficiency.
Okay.
I had no idea that the military still had that many horses. You were changing shoes on the horses for the military?
No, I was in the guard, but I didn't realize I
Cavalry.
was actually asked to do the caisson horses at Myers. No, not Myers. Yeah, I think it's Myers, right next to the Pentagon.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
How does one become a farrier, sir?
Well, have a wife that has horses.
That's usually how this goes. Yeah,
when I got out of the military, I was like, well, what do I want to do? And all my education was in law enforcement in the military. So we had some horses, and the farrier we had lamed them all. And Nathan Catlett was our farrier at the moment, but he was the one that lamed them. But he couldn't come out. And another farrier came out and then lamed them all and just cut them too short. And then the wife said, why don't you be a farrier? You're good with animals. And lo and behold, there it was.
Is it safe to call you the Al Bundy of the horse world?
Yes.
So this fat horse in a moo comes home. Thank you, Peg.
Love that series.
Yeah. All right. We have our leadoff hitter is Ken in the Joe Ferretti phone chair today, and that means with issue number 1, Mr. Ken Matson.
All right, we're going to go a little bit back in time, but sometimes time sounds familiar. So, in April 20th, 2017, the president himself had laid down a hardline deadline on the health care bill. We have a good chance of getting it done soon. Mr. Trump said in a news conference Thursday, I like to say next week, it will be, I believe we will get it, and whether it's next week or shortly thereafter. The plans get better, and better. It's only gotten really good, and a lot of people are liking it a lot, Trump said. Asked if the health care bill would pass as Congress tried to avert a government shutdown, sounds familiar, the president said, I think we will get both. In 2017, On October 12th, he signed an executive order allowing the health care plans to be sold that do not meet regulatory standards set up by the ACA. The next day, Trump tweeted, "Obamacare is a broken mess. Piece by piece, we will now begin the process of giving America the great health care it deserves." Roughly 2 weeks later, Trump got back to the promise of this tweet saying, "We will have great health care soon after tax cuts." During all that time, we kept on hearing more and more. So in ending, we've spent 13 years promising a health care plan on a 2-week timeline. So now we're going to, during the campaign after the election on this show and in D.C., we have heard, why are we giving money free and clear to Ukraine? Let NATO, European Union take care of it. Now NATO is buying arms from the U.S. and sending them to Ukraine. Great idea. I have no issues with that. In regards to tariffs and political negotiations, this administration has solidified America First ideology. Then the big, beautiful bill passed, giving record tax cuts to the elites, cutting health care and the ACA subsidies for everyday Americans who are on or need those programs. The excuse of the illegals off the rolls, well, if there would be a surplus of money, there would not be a deficit in those funds, and since you got those people off the rolls. The communist-loving Ronald Reagan put forth a bill and a law that demands hospitals to stabilize anyone who enters the emergency room. There have been plenty of times since those to repeal that law if they didn't like it or the illegals were the issue in general. In addition, the law embraces the true Christian values some in leadership of the GOP state the U.S. emulates. So we have seen both parties. We will still, but we still use the GOP. But we still see the GOP member Josh Hawley, the woke communist senator from Texas, saying he wishes to put forth money to shore up Medicaid and Medicare because of what happened in the big, beautiful bill. Marjorie Taylor Greene, just recently, the socialist representative from Georgia, she stated, "When it comes to the point where families are spending anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month and looking at hikes coming from their insurance premiums, I think that's unforgivable. What I'm upset over is my party has no solution. It's not something we want to talk about frequently, but it is a reality for Americans, and it's something that I do not, and I think we should not ignore. I really, really want to fix this." So now we have this thing to come. We're now at a shutdown, and we hear there is no money for health care. Then we see Trump administration giving $20 billion with a B to the country of Argentina, whose president bankrupted that country. This is the same guy, if you don't know, gave Elon Musk a chainsaw. When Argentina received the money, the president of Argentina held a $1 million rock concert that also promoted his book. Argentina temporarily suspended its tax export, making its soybeans cheaper and more competitive than U.S. soybeans. These purchases have helped meet China's demand through November and have come to an expense of U.S. farmers, who are seeing a reduced market share due to the ongoing trade dispute between China and the United States. So the question comes down to, so if this is the American first, we need to help out our farmers. We need affordable health care. We need help Americans be able to afford things off their bills and their health care. Why not use the $20 billion for health care to help the American people rather than to a president who bankrupted his country in Argentina?
All right, there's a lot there. And to say that was dripping with sarcasm at points would be an understatement. It was cascading dam broke of sarcasm, Ken. I did enjoy the description of Marjorie Taylor Greene as a socialist. That was quite funny. I'm going to go to Mike Height first on this one. Mike, what do you care to bite off and chew on this one?
Wow, there was a lot there. So I don't know that I agree with giving Argentina $20 billion. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. In reading about this, what it seems like he's doing is it's less about trying to prop up their government or help this particular president. It's more about what seems like trying to compete with China again. That China gave essentially the same deal to that government to help prop it up and to have what I think is influence, that China is using our money, because we trade in trinkets with them, is using our money to prop themselves up globally, and become a force. And they're going to countries like this that are struggling and help prop them up so that they can get allies. So the $20 billion, the way I look at it is the $20 billion was a way to try to curb that those alliances with China, who we right now perceive to be our biggest threat.
Bill Stubblefield.
Yeah, Mike, we said we diverge. We diverged quicker than I thought we would because I think there's other reasons this $20 billion. I'm going to address the China issue, I think, on my issue when it come up. Several things about this $20 billion to Argentina that bothers me is that Argentina has a long history of defaulting on their loans. Since early 1980s, they've defaulted on all 5 or 6 of the loans. So we at this point in time should not expect to get anything back from Argentina for this. It's a gift. Let's call it a gift, a $20 billion gift, because we're not going to get it back. The other thing is we were buying their pesos in order to keep the currency high. Their currency has already dropped about 29% below the U.S. dollar. It's dropped that much relative to the U.S. dollar just in the last few months. The thing that Ken alluded to, I think, is the biggest reason that we should be concerned is that Argentina they removed all the export taxes, not import, all the export taxes, which allowed them to ship the soybeans to China. China right now buys approximately 62% of all the world's soybeans. They're not buying a single soybean from the U.S. today because of Trump's tariffs. So they're filling that void from Argentina's soybeans. They're decimating, our soybean farmers are being decimated because of this action, and Argentina's making it even worse. I do not believe we're doing it to try to stymie China's input or China's influence. Rather, we're doing it because the president of Argentina has been has idolized Donald Trump over the years and has tried to make his country over the same way he thinks the U.S. is doing. I think this is a payback to the loyalty that the president of Argentina has shown toward the U.S.
Michael Carl.
Well, I'll be quick to, of course, I generally support Trump, what he's doing and what his policies are, but I absolutely agree with all the criticisms I just heard. And if, I mean, I can't say I know all the details that were used, but I'm unaware of any great benefit that we will get from Argentina, regardless of what we do. What are we buying? And I it's not apparent to me at all.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes, this has been covered pretty fully, but the idea that we're giving this money or loaning for the moment, this money to Argentina, which we're kind of sure from past events they're not going to pay back, directly at the expense of the $12 billion worth of soybeans that were purchased by China from U.S. farmers less than a year ago in the last soybean production year. Partly, I think, in 24 and partly in 23, if I'm not mistaken. I think the soybean year goes from about the middle of the calendar to the middle of the next year. But in any event, that number has reduced to 0. So we're burning American farmers $12 billion, 24% of all our exports of soybeans go to China, if not more. And it may be 24% of China's imports go to American farmers, the money. So we're not giving those gentlemen and women any money at all. Meanwhile, this tin horn dictator in Argentina is getting the $20 billion effectively the $12 billion at least, that our farmers lost. That's insane. It's only going to make economic sense if you believe it's okay that the President of the United States bankrupted casinos. This is a bankruptcy of a casino kind of financial management, where you expect the customers to go bankrupt, but not the owner. And, this is just exactly, unfortunately, what we got signed up for, those of us who didn't vote for him. For those who did vote for him, including the soybean farmers, this is going to be extremely painful. What will be interesting to see is, as we go along and the farms go bankrupt and end up on the market, which of Mr. Trump's friends will buy those farms to incorporate them in their giant international farming thing. The family farm is really in great danger because of this stuff.
Kenny, back to you.
That would be you, Ken.
That would definitely be Ken Matson. Hello, Ken.
Joe Ferretti
I
muted
did a
him.
Ferretti moment.
Did you have a mute button incident there?
I don't think people would have that much of a problem if they were invaded like Ukraine, kind of shoring them up if we supported their democracy, et cetera. But as the panel has said, this is just giving money for really nothing. And Bill kind of hit it on, which I think is the issue. But I just really feel, I would use a little personal note with me. My daughter needs a kidney removed, and she's on Medicaid because she was a foster and she had some health problems. Well, she was denied. But I can go ahead and have my tax dollars be sent to Argentina for nothing, and I have to look around and try to find surgery for my daughter. Mm. So we need to bring this back to America and worry about Americans with their health care issues in regards to this, because we already have a health care issue coming up. So I just think instead of this throwing away money in this regard, well, we already have problems here, that should be the priority. And I think the Republican representatives and senators, some of them already hit the spot, and I think more should.
You mentioned in your intro, Ken, you mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene as the most, maybe the only prominent Republican to come out against what's seen by most as the primary reason why there's a government shutdown, and it has to do with increased health insurance premiums for those who most of us would think could not afford that. So I want to get to that part of the intro here that you used, Ken, for a moment here. Yeah. Do you want to expand on that before I go around the room on Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out in public and making that statement this past week?
Yeah, she brought up the fact that her own kids are on the ACA. And the reason why she's coming out is because it's affecting her personally and her family, and that their rates are going to go up twofold. So, and that just, if that's the case, that means it's not just her. It's other representatives who kids or they themselves may be on the ACA. So I think once, we see a lot of the stuff happening, when it's affecting their own kids or affecting their own family, you'll see a lot more coming out. I mean, even Josh Hawley came out before the bill was signed, or after it was signed, that we need to shore up Medicaid and Medicare. But for somebody and she's not blaming Trump on the shutdown, she's blaming Republican leadership in D.C. on the shutdown. So, when you have her coming out, who is a staunch, no one's going to talk. I mean, I did sarcastically, but no one's going to say she's a left woke liberal, right? She believes in a lot of the conservative ideals, and if she comes out and saying this, well, maybe we should listen to her.
Bill?
You mentioned Josh Hawley. You mentioned also earlier, he said he's from Texas, actually he's from Missouri. But anyway, But I found Marjorie Taylor Greene interesting in that she made a clear distinction between the GOP leadership when it came to the ACA. She cast big stones, not small stones, both to Thune and Johnson, but she made a point of not including Trump in that group, and yet the three of them are in lockstep. How she made that distinction is in her own eyes. I do not know. But it's funny that we take great, if we're on the opposite side of the aisle of a firebrand, AOC, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you go down the list, there's a lot of them. We take great umbrage, great exception to anything they say until they reverse themselves and says something that you like. All of a sudden, every bad thing we thought about them, now we look at them in a different light. And a lot of Democrats now are applauding Marjorie Taylor Greene today. They never would have thought of doing yesterday.
Mike Height?
Yeah, it's interesting that our premiums have gone up exponentially since the advent of ACA. And this was supposed to make medical insurance more affordable for every American, and I just don't see that. It seems like our premiums go up every year. We put more people on Medicaid that aren't paying into it now, and I will be the first to say the Republicans seem to have no answer. They bitched and whined and complained when Obamacare went into effect, and yet they have no answer on what to do about it or how to get rid of it or a better solution. So they're just as bad when it comes to medical insurance. But we can't continue going the way we are. We have to do something, and medical care for all, a state solution, Medicaid for everybody is not the solution. As far as Marjorie Taylor Greene, I could care less. She's one person, so I really don't care what she has to say.
She's one person, but she was a very staunch Trump supporter even after January the 6th, and a very influential Republican in terms of keeping the support for Trump within the party after January the 6th, at least I think.
Influential or just loud?
Well, one can be the other, but is not always.
Yeah. AOC is loud as well. I don't know how influential she is.
Well, in this show, she's given a lot of credit for keeping the Democrats out of office. Yeah. So she must be at least influential in some ways.
Also, Mike, her name's been mentioned quite frequently as a potential presidential candidate.
God, I hope.
So, I really hope. But the fact is, she is influential in a wide.
Are you talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No. I'm talking about
AOC.
Yeah.
AOC.
Yeah. Larry, just a minute left or so. If you have a thought on Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments.
Yes. She is occasionally going to be right. Even somebody who's demonstrated so little critical thinking skills and intellect is occasionally going to stumble on the right thing. And of course, it's not surprising that she stumbled on the right thing because the very people who voted for her are going to get hurt the worst by this. So that's not surprising that a politician who sees their potential future going up in flames because the people, and she voted for the big, beautiful bill. She voted for all this stuff.
Yep.
And now she's saying, well, this is outrageous. But I'll take an ally for a minute as long as I don't have to turn my back on him anywhere. And so if she's going to work to fight for the people who she represents, then good for her.
Final word goes to you, Mike Carl.
The big, beautiful bill, the main tax aspect of it was to continue Trump's rate cuts for most individual taxpayers, not just for the rich people.
Hear, hear.
That's it.
Kenny, make sure Ken's listening.
We'll have Medicare cuts, though, so...
Ken, thank you for the leadoff subject. Mr. Stubblefield, you are on the clock. And then the Badger in the first half of the 9 o'clock hour. But Ken Mattson is via telephone. I don't expect him to do a plug for the law firm, though. Ken, unmute yourself and say good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
That wasn't so difficult, was it? Yeah, as we go around the room, we say good morning once again to the Badger, Delegate Michael Heights.
Good morning. Great to be here.
The longest tenured member of our crew, Mr. Michael Carl,
Good morning.
attorney at law. Also attorney at law, Lawrence Schultz.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. Is the CAB fundraiser, is that this weekend or was that already?
No, there was one a week ago, but there's one coming up on October 25th called the Decade Dance.
Yes.
Go there in your best 80s
80s,
clothes.
baby.
Party time. Yeah.
Yeah, are you still doing that brisket raffle you used to do?
We're going to do one later this year, so save yourself $10 back because you're going to be needing it to buy some tickets.
Delegate Michael Height won that one year.
Yes, he did.
And Larry Schultz won the year before.
No,
Oh, I thought you did.
No, Larry cooks it.
He's cooking it.
I thought he also won.
no.
And
No,
that's
what-
why I.
What happened was he cooked it and it smelled so good he ate it, so he just said he won.
We just did another one in that instance. But yeah, if that number got pulled, the instruction is to throw it back in. But I generally don't put any tickets in my name. We're not going to eat that brisket at my house. That's for darn sure.
You got to do like I do. You just sell them to all the people that are going to invite you if they do win.
Sure.
Good plan.
Sure, and that's a part of actually having it because I get that invitation almost every single time.
Yes.
And who knows better how good the meat's going to be than me?
It works out well. Also, let's say good morning to the Admiral Bill Stubblefield, retired admiral and former Berkeley County Commission president. William?
Good morning, Rob. I was going to go with an issue today of who's winning the international global PR in economics between the U.S. and China. And there's been some recent articles very interesting in that. But I'm going to do something much simpler, much more direct. Today is the 10th day of the government shutdown. There's been a lot of finger pointing at both sides of the aisle who's responsible. The major issue is the Democrats are pushing for an extension of the tax credits that were provided under the Affordable Care Act, which are set to expire at the end of this year. And they feel they have leverage now. The Republicans say, no, trust us, let's get this clean bill, CR, and keeping the government open. We'll address the tax credits later. But over the last several years, the Republicans have shown no interest of addressing the increased tax extension of the tax credits. Therefore, the Democrats said, we don't trust you. We have leverage now. We're going to keep the leverage up. Both sides are saying it's the other side. The Republicans have the bully pulpit of the presidential office, as well as the leadership in the Senate and the House. Whenever somebody's asked the question about reopening government, the very first thing that comes out of the mouth is it's a Democratic issue. They're the one that closed the government. And the reverse is true as well. When asked questions to the Democrats, they say it's a Republican issue. Who's getting blamed for it? At this point in time, the polls suggest that both parties are being blamed. A little bit more on the Republicans than the Democrats, but in both cases, both parties have been blamed. The polls are being addressed something like this. 64% on one poll blame the Republicans or both parties, whereas 53% blame the Democrats of both parties. CBS poll, 70% blame the Republicans or both parties. 61% blame the Democrats or both parties. In other words, both parties are being inserted in the polls. My question to my distinguished colleagues is and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway, from your perspective, who's to blame for the government shutdown? And even more important, who do you think will blink first so that we'll get some resolution to the government shutdown?
Mr. Michael Carl.
Well, it's so simple. Who's to blame are the Democrats. The Republicans, members of the House and the Senate, have done what they needed to do to get the budget approved, and it's only some Democrats, enough Democrats to block it, and there's just no doubt in the world. That's the reality of the situation. Now, what'll be the ultimate resolution, and who will have any benefit or injuries politically about it remains to be seen. It's very there's a lot of give and take and competing issues, but the ultimate thing is the Democratic leadership in the Senate has blocked the adoption of the major the primary budget.
Ken Mattson.
I would never say this, but how can the Republicans lose the messaging battle? Haven't figured it out, because the polls are starting to turn, because now the Democrats have put it on an ethical subject. Health care for people. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out, hey, we need to do something about it. When you start hearing these people break off and say this, you're going to get the sympathy of your electorate. And then they're going to look at the ones, hey, why did you do this? Why did you do this? So then you have our president who signed a bill on the first shutdown that everyone will be paid if there's a shutdown. Then, not a couple of days ago, are people going to get paid who are furloughed? Maybe some of them, and the ones we don't, we'll take care of them in our own way. So that doesn't sound really good. You had a lot of people in I think it was the California, Oakland airport, 6 hours, towers shut down, right? That's starting to inconvenience people. And, but who do they blame? The Republicans or Democrats? But because of how emotion is being swayed to the healthcare part, the Democrats are starting to get a little bit of a foothold in regards to the messaging and their support of it. And with Marjorie Taylor Greene there. The polls are starting to show, and people are starting to get fed up, but then they're starting to look at the Republicans as being the problem.
Delegate Michael Heights.
Yeah, Ken's right. And I don't say that very often.
Thank you.
It has become about messaging, and it's not so much about facts as it is about messaging. And the Democrats seem to be winning that messaging war right now. The Republicans put out what they called a clean bill. There was a continuing resolution that extended the government for a period of time to allow the Republicans and Democrats to negotiate what is in contention. And it was the Democrats that said, no, we are going to shut it down, and we want to negotiate this stuff now. We're not going to extend out and work on what we disagree about. We're going to shut it down now. So the fact is, it is the Democrats that shut down the government. The government could be running right now for a short period of time while they negotiate. Instead, we're going to shut it down and try to negotiate through strong-arm tactics. And the Republicans are just saying, we gave you a clean bill. We could be operating right now. You've chosen to shut it down. Those are the facts. Now, whether or not the messaging is getting out that those are the facts or not is a different story. And when it comes to politics, it's all about the messaging. And I agree with Ken. The Republicans are losing the messaging war right now, especially when you have fractures like Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out and saying some of the things you're not sticking together with the facts. You could be negotiating and taking care of some of the issues that Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about, but you could be doing it with the government open. And the Democrats have decided not to do it that way. They want it shut down.
Mr. Schultz.
Sure, they could very easily today in the Senate change the basic Senate rule that would require 60 votes. If they did that, they could reopen the government themselves.
Can you do that by just a majority?
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so. It is a Senate rule and not a federal law.
No, but it cannot. It has to be by 60 or 70%. Cannot be just 50.
I'm not so sure that's true. I think it's a basic Senate rule. The problem is,
I agree with Bill.
Okay. But the problem with that is if they did that and reopened the government and then lose the 26 elections, now they got to ask the Democrats to change it back so they can have a voice. That's not going to happen. Look, every single one of them voted for the very cuts the Democrats are raising questions about now. Every one of them. They could fix that tomorrow with a proper vote. This is not the Democrats' fault. This is, we produced one bill that had 1 million pages in it and nobody really understood out there in the country what was in that bill. And now the first hammer is about to hit. And now they're saying, well, this is just unfair. By the way, we shut down the government. We furlough all these federal employees, including a whole bunch of them who work in West Virginia. We raise questions about whether they are going to get back pay, even though they're required to get back pay. Did they do that for the Congress people too? I don't think so. I don't think that their government salary has been furloughed and weighted, and we're going to see, even though Mike Johnson sent the whole House home. They're not doing anything. So we have workers who were involuntarily kicked out of their jobs and workers who voted to walk off their jobs, and only the walk-offs are getting paid. That's insane. Look, this has to be owned 100% by the Republicans simply because they're in charge and they are the ones who passed the ACA cuts that are going to wreck health care in a lot of states that look an awful lot like West Virginia. Keep in mind, we're not just talking about somebody who happens to get the ACA. We're talking about the hospitals and doctors who serve that person because that's their income that's being cut off. You cut off enough of it, and all of a sudden, there's a bankruptcy notice, and the hospital ain't open no more, and neither's a nursing home. And if you do that in enough places, then the real pain is going to hit. And how they can't see this before they pass the big, beautiful bill is going to be a problem that haunts the Republican Party for a long time.
Back to you, Bill.
Yeah, two things. One, it does require 60% of the vote to get rid of the filibuster. I go agree. The second thing is, I think the message is right, but what's going to reinforce the messages from the Democrats' point of view, are letters going out to hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people perhaps, saying your premium insurance rates are going to go up. All tied into health care. And so the health care issue, as we talked about last week, is it going to be an issue on the West Virginia campaign next year? The answer is yes. Is it going to be an issue now with the closing of the government? I think the answer is going to be yes. It all revolves around health care and the cost of health care. And this, I think, is the messages the Democrats have the advantage right now.
It's just another example with the two infantile parties we have running this country that the role of government is much too important to be left to them.
Yes.
What they have done is rack up $35 trillion in debt while assuring that they get paid when there's a shutdown and that they can still insider trade, which none of the rest of us can do. These are the rules these people have set up that they operate under that nobody else gets to operate under. And we keep sending them back to Washington, D.C. every year.
We should have a rich discussion sometime. Is it time for a third party?
If it isn't, the time for these two is over.
I agree.
On to issue number 3, and for that, the Badger, Michael Height.
All right. In 2009, 10 months after being elected, Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize for extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples due to his rhetoric. But he had resolved no conflicts. Today, it was announced the Nobel Peace Prize was being given to a woman from Venezuela who is in the opposition party in Venezuela, trying to bring democracy back to her country. But again, all rhetoric and has accomplished nothing. We are 10 months into Trump's second term. He has ended 7 wars or conflicts and is always overlooked as for his accomplishments, bringing peace. He is on the brink of bringing peace to the Israel and Hamas war that has been going on for 2 years, and yet still gets no nod for his peace process in the Middle East. So my question to the panel is the Nobel Peace Prize effective, and is it only for the woke liberals, or is someone like Trump really deserving of a prize like this?
Hey, before we go on, what are the 7 wars and conflicts that he has ended?
I wrote those down and forgot to bring them to you.
I have
You have
them.
them?
Yeah.
I have them.
Because
Yeah.
I wasn't aware there were 7
Yeah,
of those
let me-
going on around the world.
There
Okay. Israel, Iran, Rwanda, and Democratic Republic of Congo, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. Sorry about that.
This is fun just to hear you pronounce
yeah, I
his
know.
names.
That's pronunciation is not my strong suit. We all know that.
He's really good at the ones that have an ocean right
Yeah,
next to him.
Thailand and Cambodia, India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Serbia and Kosovo.
Yes.
However, some of those, the first one was the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, I think, I have trouble with my R's. There was a third party that was creating most of the conflict. The third party was not invited to the table. So the negotiation with the 2 fringe groups, but not the third party. And in some of these, there have not really been, they've been ongoing conflicts over the years, and I'm not sure anything has been resolved. Egypt and Ethiopia, they've been conflicts for generations, and they still do it. Serbia and Kosovo, we know since the 1990s. The list goes on and on. India and Pakistan. So I'm not sure any of those you can say have been resolved.
Well, I don't know that they're all long lasting.
Yeah.
But I will say that the conflict itself, the warring between the two, have stopped at least to this point.
So anyway, back to Mike's question then, is Donald Trump being wrongfully overlooked for Nobel Peace Prizes? We got about a minute and a half for each of you on these. Larry, go.
Sure. It's not the Nobel Ceasefire Prize. There's a difference, and we certainly, from watching Middle East history, know there's a gigantic difference between a ceasefire and a peace deal. We're kind of glossing over that right now. But really, Hamas, all this time, everyone's hated the idea that Hamas is this terrorist organization, and now we're taking their word for it. Oh, there's peace in the valley. Well, it may not anywhere be like that. Literally, there have been all kinds of ceasefires in all these different conflicts at various times when both sides stopped shooting at each other, maybe because they're both out of ammo right now and they're waiting for the ships to come with more ammo. But whatever the thing is, that's not peace. It's momentary. It's a good thing. It's a thing on the path to peace, but it's not peace. And that's part of the problem. Plus, we have a guy who, unlike any other Nobel laureate in history, is campaigning for it with public comments about how he ended 7 wars. Some of them weren't even wars. I mean, let's face it, they weren't even wars. Declared wars by the two entities. So the whole thing is ridiculous. I believe that the Nobel Prize the Nobel Prize Committee gets to decide who gets it.
And Mr. Mattson via telephone.
I think in his inaugural address, Trump said that his proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. Well, you don't do that by trying to invade or thinking to invade Iceland and Canada. But all these wars have all been suspect, and the only thing missing is him helping to facilitate the Khitomer Accords between the Klingon Empire and the Federation. So we're now a nation of trophies, right? So why don't we just give it to him, make something up, and see if his legacy of being a peacemaker and that is legit. Once he gets the prize, does he just go, well, I got it, I'm going to move on to the next thing? I hope it's not, right? But yes, he should get credit, for helping this out and getting this thing, and I think he should get credit. The Nobel Peace Prize, well, dude, you better do more to earn it than just telling people they need to move out and restructure the place. So we'll see. Does he deserve it for this? Obama said he didn't deserve it, just by being elected. So to Mike's thing, has it degraded a Nobel Peace Prize? In some instances, yes, in a way. But, I don't think we're going to see anytime soon any Mahatma Gandhis. I hope we do. But if we can get this Ukraine thing done, I think that's what he should have been keyed on, Ukraine. And if he would have done that or keep going doing that, well, I'd support him for it.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Mr. Carl.
Well, I think it's absolutely he deserves it for two reasons. One is how lacking in quality or important substance the previous awards have been, including Obama. You just mentioned. Just for getting elected as a black man, I guess, was the underlying principle there. But Trump has done a lot, and there's ambiguities about every international struggle and so forth in terms of what caused them, how are they really ended, and all that. So, but he has uniquely used tremendous range of presidential powers and claim or authorities to move in the right direction in terms of peace, and the thing in Israel and Gaza is just one example, and so I think he absolutely, under this low standard that's been used, should have it.
1 minute, Bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a low standard if you look back. Theodore Roosevelt got the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the Russian-Japanese War. Woodrow Wilson got the Peace Prize for creating the League of Nations. Jimmy Carter got the Peace Prize for promoting democracy, human rights, and humanitarian reason. I'm going to suggest, I'm projecting the future, that if we contrast the 7 wars which we mentioned, or conflicts, they were not wars, 7 conflicts, the loss of life that Trump is invoking now, compared to the loss of life we're going to see with the elimination of the USAID program in Africa and Asia, we're going to find there's going to be substantially more loss of life directly related to the elimination of the USAID.
Final word goes back to you, Mr. Height.
Yeah, I'll agree with Larry that it's not about ceasefires. It's about bringing peace. But I have to compare it to the people who have won it before, and that's the comparison I'm trying to make. Is this was handed out like candy to people who were undeserving and had done nothing, like Barack Obama. Had done nothing. This woman in Venezuela that won today has done really nothing. And yet, you have somebody like Trump, who's his own worst enemy, there's no doubt about it, trying to self-promote, has done a lot of damage to him ever getting an award like this. But is he deserving? Absolutely.
All right.
He sent troops to American cities.
On that note, we have to get out. And
Rightfully so.
The Star Trek theme as we take it to the break here. And on the clock is Larry Schultz coming up next, along with Mike Carl.
No man has gone before.
It is the birthday of one David Lee Roth, born this date 1954. If you wanted to feel old, I can tell you that David Lee Roth turned 71 years old today.
He's a kid.
He's a kid.
I turned 79 in September.
Happy birthday, sir. Yeah. And Bill Stubblefield calls you a kid. So.
Exactly. Everybody's a kid.
All right. Well, you know what? I have to say that the show itself has been worth it, and it's weight in gold just to hear Bill say Azerbaijan earlier in the program.
As you well know, I
it's all right.
struggle with pronunciations, but
We love you for it.
you know what I'm talking about, and you grin and bear it, which I appreciate.
We do. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, we move on to issue number 4, and with that, Attorney at Law Lawrence Schultz.
Yeah, newly elected Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva.
I was not even
hope I
going to
said
try
that
that.
right. I don't know if I got it right, so my apologies. Could have been sworn in last week or this week, despite the government shutdown, but she wasn't. Earlier this week, Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, said she could be sworn in as soon as she wanted, and then right away his spokesperson walked that back. Grijalva would be the deciding vote on the Thomas Massie discharge petition to release the Epstein files, which would then pass. Can anyone, and of course, meanwhile, we have a government shutdown, but is there any reason for these moves other than hiding the truth about Donald J. Trump's close relationship and friendship with Epstein? Please tell us what it is if you believe there is some other reason.
To the phone, Mr. Mattson.
Well, I think Pam Bondi's pitiful performance in front of the Senate pretty much told you a lot about the questions she didn't ask and then went to attacks. I mean, I like the attacks. I mean, that's kind of like what I do sometimes. But at least answer the question or roundabout. 2 months prior, I think, during when the Congress was in the session, the Speaker sworn in 2 special election individuals. I think they were GOP, but I mean, it really doesn't matter what party they were. But he swore them in. So why he cannot do the same here? What I'm thinking is that the reason for it is what I think Larry is spot on. The 218th vote for releasing the Epstein files. And I think this shutdown, they're taking advantage of it by trying to put some pressure on one of the 4 Republicans whose name will be on that discharge petition. So the longer we wait, the more pressure is put on. Do they have a spine and say, nope, we're going to vote for it no matter what? We'll see. But I think that I don't think it's, well, for her not being sworn in has absolutely everything to do about the Epstein files. That's what I think. So if that's the answer to Larry's question.
All right, Mr. Heitz.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's politics. 100%, this is politics. And right now, Speaker Johnson holds the conch. And as long as he does, she's not going to be sworn in. And it's just politics. It's about the Epstein files. Yep, 100%. So I'm not sure what you want me to say. Would the Democrats do the same thing if they were in there? Absolutely. Because it's politics. And this is about power and control and nothing more.
Well, it is kind of about little children who are victimized. And
what? So they're going to get justice now?
Well, anything better than what they got would be some form of justice. I'm punishing the guilty.
I'm for releasing the
justice.
files. I don't have a problem releasing the files at all. You're 100% right. But releasing the files, I've said this before, this is much bigger than who's on the list.
Right.
Because there's a reason the Democrats didn't release the list when they had 4 years to do it. And there's a reason after 10 months of the Republicans being in control that they haven't released the list. And it has nothing to do with Democrats being on the list or Republicans being on the list. It has something to do with someone else being on the list.
Like Donald Trump?
If Donald Trump had been on the list, the Democrats would have released the list 4 years ago. Absolutely, 100%. You know that,
well,
and if you deny that, then you're crazy.
I don't.
Absolutely, 100% crazy because they would have released
so.
the list just to keep him from being president again.
We'll see.
So they've had every opportunity. This has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans being on the list. This is something bigger. What it is, I don't know. But hopefully, I would like to see the list released. But this is all about politics, 100%.
It's also about denying justice to victims. That's what it's about, no matter who does it. But right now, the Republican Party is the ones who are acting as guardians of Jeffrey Epstein.
No, this is not about denying justice. This is about protecting somebody. And it's not a Republican. It's not a Democrat. My guess is it's a foreign leader somewhere that the U.S. is protecting. Or it's something much deeper, like Epstein was somebody that nobody knew he was, and we don't want that to get out either. So there's something that both sides are hiding. The Democrats and the Republicans are hiding.
The Republicans are hiding at full speed right now.
Right, and the Democrats hid it for 4 years before that.
It's funny no Republicans were asking for it to be released then.
They were.
It's funny it wasn't a fight.
They were.
How come they didn't raise a fight? And weren't
They
in
did.
charge of the government for a
No,
while?
they weren't.
Okay.
Can I ask a lawyer question?
Sure.
Okay, so now I've been catching back and forth. I cannot find a reasonable answer. Was the reason why they weren't released is because of the appeal by Maxwell during those 4 years?
No.
Because if he was on appeal, those names couldn't be released until the appeal went its course.
No. One had nothing to do with the other.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm just not qualified to say. I don't know.
I want to go back and salute Mike Kite. Every prize I could give you, I would, because of your Lord of the Flies. William Golding is smiling right now. His novel was referenced with the conch. Old Piggy himself couldn't have been prouder. Didn't work out well for him on that island, but he had good intentions. Mike Carl, off to you.
Well, I'll have to say I absolutely agree with what Mike Height just said about this thing. There's a lot of pluses and minuses, ambiguities, and so forth, and it's just not something that's clearly right or clearly wrong. There's a lot of ambiguities.
Mr. Stubblefield.
It's hypocrisy. Hypocrisy in the purest sense. The Republicans, McConnell held up Garland's appointment to the Supreme Court, and then the Democrats tried to come back. To me, this particular holding the lady off of by not being able to swear her in is ludicrous in the high sense of the word, because the House is not going to stay out indefinitely. They're going to be coming back pretty soon. As soon as they come back and she's going to be sworn in, then the group led by Massey they're not going to dissolve. They're still going to be there, and in all probability, the disclosure will pass. So why is Johnson making such a big to-do on this? All he's going to do is gain a couple of 3 weeks before the disclosure is actually enacted. Again, I think Massey has this real feud with the president. Massey's not going to back off. He has nothing to lose by not backing off. And the other three, I believe, are in states that are leaning blue, if they're not solidly blue. So there's no reason for any of these folks to back off. So all he's doing is just he's buying a couple of 3 weeks in time. That's it.
Back to you, Larry.
Yeah, I wonder, I haven't kept up with this because you might guess I'm not a close follower of hers, but I wonder what Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks of this one. That would be an interesting thing. Is she one of the four?
No, she's not one of the four. And also, she's a very strong supporter of Trump.
Right.
She may be a critic of the rest of the leadership, but not of Trump.
And of course, again, I'm not going to ever rely upon her as a standard of common sense and critical thinking and logic, because after all, she voted for the very bill that's causing the very problem she's complaining about. But here's the thing. This has reached a crescendo with a lot of people. I've not heard anybody publicly saying, "Oh no, releasing the Epstein files. I think it's time for us to move on from that." I don't hear anybody saying that. There's a group of people like Mr. Massey who are pressing for it to happen, and then there's everybody else who's like, no. Let's shut the house down for a while and see if we can pressure one of those 4 people to bail out. And it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. It's coming out. Get it out now.
Go ahead, Ken.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was out in front of the Capitol with the victims and with Massey, and said that if the names aren't released, she will, under open debate, take the names that the victims have put forth and read them on the floor. So I think she does supporting this bill, what that Massey has.
Thank you, Ken. Now on to issue number 5. For that, Mr. Michael Carl.
Well, I have to use my third suggestion because the first 2 were covered. Which aspect of Biden's presidency has done the most political harm to the Democratic Party?
Which aspect of Biden's presidency has done the most harm to the Democratic political party? Mr. Stubblefield, you had your finger up.
Yes, easy. Holding on so the Democrats did not have an opportunity for a primary. If they'd had a primary, things would be a lot different today than what they are right now.
How so?
Yep.
How would they be different?
They would have had a clear leader, and you get that only through a primary. And Kamala Harris never won the primary, therefore she was not recognized as a clear leader. Mr.
Height?
I am shocked that I'm going to agree with Bill. That is absolutely it. If he had decided not to run again, and there had been a primary, I think things could have turned out a whole lot different. I don't think Kamala Harris would have been the nominee. I think you may have had a stronger contender. I have said this before. I will say it again. If Joe Manchin had run in the primary on the Democratic ticket, Joe Manchin would be president right now.
Interesting. Mr. Schultz?
I simply think that the soft landing, the fabled soft landing that Joe Biden achieved, that's actually never really been done in this country, was the greatest thing that he did. And I would agree with Bill that the worst thing that he did was staying on too long.
Soft landing as one of the times he fell? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
I'm not sure.
I can understand why a Republican businessman would not understand what a soft landing is, because you all have never produced one. but we, Joe Biden, achieved this mythical, fabled, it's called fabled because it doesn't happen, where we were headed for a recession and he snagged us short of it. And now here we go again. So we will see what happens when the whole story plays out, and we see the effects of these tariffs and the other things on whether the next Democratic president is going to get a chance to achieve another fabled soft landing.
Mr. Madsen?
Well, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I have to believe with Mike Height. Doesn't happen often, but it happens. No, I wrote that right down in there. Not bowing out sooner to give a field for a primary. And right in my notes, I put Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin went independent. And then when finally Biden stepped down, he's kind of like, oh, can I get back in? For the little primary they're going to have. And I think if he would have bowed out, and I agree with Mike, that a good chance a Democrat, Democrat moderate from West Virginia would have been our president.
See, this adds a second aspect to the discussion point, not the least of which is the fact that would Manchin actually have won the election had he run as a Democrat in the primary. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say Manchin would have won, I believe, handily in a general election. The problem with Manchin, he could not have gotten through a primary.
Yeah, I think he would have, and this is why, because I didn't see there was any other contender in the Democratic Party that could have beat him in a debate. he would have annihilated any of the other competition in debates, and he would have gotten the nomination.
So this expands the question here too. I had several, I don't know how long ago, maybe 2 terms ago, talked about Manchin running for president and being a realistic candidate and being told never happened because he's from West Virginia. There's just not enough votes there, right? So as you bring that up a second time, it makes me wonder, one, if there was a primary, whoever emerged from the Democratic primary, would they still have beaten Trump? And I don't think the answer to that is yes, considering the political climate of that day, that time, right? And then the other aspect of that is winning that election is the short game. The long game was establishing a Democratic leader who would right now would be the single person opposing Trump on the Democratic side, which you don't really have right now. You've got a collection of people without an ideal leader right now on the Democratic side. So there's 2 parts to that. Now back to Manchin. I think because of some of the issues that were brought about from the Biden presidency, 1, the border, and 2 is inflation. Now, whether inflation was Biden's fault or not, you can debate back and forth with whatever you wanted to do. There's a lot that went into the inflation that we had. I think those 2 issues alone guaranteed a Trump victory regardless of who the Democratic president was. But I can see your point because so many people who didn't traditionally vote for Republicans voted for the Republican in that election because they just couldn't deal with voting for Harris and then continuing Biden's presidency through another person. So there were a lot of reasons that went into that. But I still think because of the overwhelming issues that concerned people at the time, the border and inflation, that a Democrat wasn't going to win that election.
If a Democrat had taken it on, I think they probably could have won. The weakness of Harris's election, she was running on the 2022 campaign where abortion was the driving issue. And she used that as her only issue, the abortion. She had an opportunity to take on the inflation. She backed away from it when the question was asked to her, and she avoided that question. That could have put us some distance between she and Biden. She chose not to. As far as the border, she never really got into it. She made it a one-issue campaign, and unfortunately for her, that one issue was 2 years too late.
Not only just one issue, but they're not good at debates. They're not good in the public, and Manchin is. Can you imagine the imagery of a blue senator being the nominee for the Democratic Party out of the reddest state in the nation? That would have been their nominee. A West Virginia presidential nominee on the Democrat ticket. And West Virginia is the reddest state in the nation.
And you're looking at it through the prism of Republicans saying what the Democrats would do. I'll come back to the fact of a primary. The Bernie Sanders and his group of this world were not going to let a moderate, regardless of what state they're from, win the primary.
But I disagree. I think the Democrats and even some independents were begging for someone other than Harris and Biden. Anybody, give us anybody that we can truly vote for. And he was the guy.
And we're circling back to the point that was originally asked. Biden, by hanging on as long as he did, removed that option with that possibility. So
100%.
So I come back to answering Mike Carl's question. What did the Biden do of the greatest damage to the Democratic Party? And I think it's very, very, very simple. He held on too long for a primary, and regardless of who won the primary, they would have had an established leader in the Democratic Party.
Well, but the problem is that you would have been a Democrat coming out of a Biden presidency, and you would have had to have distanced yourself from Biden completely to set yourself up to run against Trump. And I just don't see that any candidate would have done that, because you would have had to have thrown Biden under the bus.
But he had. On regular occasions, he disagreed with Biden, and he was the one voice within the Democratic Party that pushed back on a regular basis during the Biden administration. So
that's a fair point.
He would have been the one.
In the general, you're exactly right, Mike. In the general, you're 100% right. But he would not have gotten through a Democratic primary.
I think he would because of the debates, and he could have beat Trump in debates as well.
Oh, anybody. Well, Harris beat Trump in the debate.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, that's what most of the pundits said, that Harris won, and Trump would not debate her the second time.
Mike comes.
Eating the cats and dogs was pinnacle during that debate.
Yes, that's right. Ohio. We're back to you, Mr. Carl.
Well, I appreciate that. There's an interesting conversation. The thing I would say that what Biden did that hurt the Democrats the most was becoming the president in the first place, and because I'd love to see Joe Manchin, playing the role. I'd vote for him, even as a Democrat or as a Republican. But Biden became president because the Democrats didn't have anybody, who was going to do a good job, and it was by default.
Good discussion point, Michael. Well done. That concludes our 5 rounds here, and we have final thoughts coming up. 8 seconds apiece out of the break. Final thoughts, 8 seconds apiece. We start with Ken Manson on the phone. Kenny, go.
Hockey season starting, and good luck to our cooks, Larry and Mike Height, to the cook-off.
Mr. Schultz.
Go to the 50th Apple Butter Festival in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia this weekend. We've had our first frost, and we're ready to go.
Mr. Stubblefield.
Enjoy the fall. It's here.
Mike Carl.
As a Redskins fan, I say go Commanders.
Mr. Height, you have time today.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Carol Miller, who was the court administrator at Berkeley County Courts for 30 plus years, is retiring. So congratulations, Carol.
Dave Ramsey's show is coming up next. Have a great weekend. This is Talk Radio, WNR Martinsburg and TV 10, and we'll talk to you again in 70 short hours.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.